Hey guys, this is Chris from Empire Bricks and welcome to another LEGO Star Wars MOC review. Today I've got something really special to share with you guys. It is the Death Star conference room. It was designed by Jacopo Magri and it's an absolute genius build. Now, if you guys have been following my channel, you might remember a MOC review about the Jedi Council chamber. So you might recognize the general shape of this thing. It is designed by the same guy, but I have to say that the construction and everything in it is actually totally different. So let's dive in and have a closer look. As you can see, this is the or a conference room, I guess, but it just resembles the room from a scene on the Death Star where several Imperial officers are on a table. Tarkin is present and Darth Vader is present. Now I just used all my Imperial officers just to fill up the room to give an idea how that looks. So it's not completely movie accurate, although I did put Tarkin on the head of the table in his special chair with Vader next to him, but Krennic is also there. And just some random officers, some of them aren't even really officers. But just to give you an idea how the whole thing looks when it's filled up. Now I'll just turn it around a little bit so you can have a better look on all sides. So as you can see, the wall is kind of repetitive and has a little bit of a structure in it, but it looks pretty good. I don't know if that's movie accurate, but it does give that Imperial feel. At the door, there's actually two stormtroopers waiting. I put them there myself, and you can see the vertical white lining, I guess. That is kind of typical for Imperial designs. So as I mentioned, it is designed by Jacopo Magri, who also designed a genius Jedi Council chamber MOC. I built that as well. This one has a general shape of that, but the construction is totally different. The construction of the Jedi Council chamber actually used a lot of wedges going inward, creating a round shape. Actually very similar to how this table was designed. I'll come to that later. This is just a layer of wedge plates creating a circle, so not going inward, but just creating a rounded shape filled up with bricks and other slopes and pieces to create a brick thick layer and the same layer of plates on top of that. Then you get a lot of tiling, and on top of that the wall is placed and fixed in several different points. So one of the differences is that this wall is actually kind of flexible. You can still, you see, bend it a little bit, which is a little bit annoying in sometimes because to maintain the round shape, it's sometimes hard to, if you pick it up, you move it around, and it's hard to keep the perfect round shape. But it does work perfectly fine. There is the appearance of a door, at least. Now, in the Jedi Council chamber MOC, you could actually use some cogwheels and open up the door, and it would open to two sides. This door does not open at all, but I can show you by simply removing a piece of the roof. You can actually see that it does, for, I guess, some purposes, you can actually take it out as if it would move. There's actually even some cogwheels over here and over here. But it almost feels like an unfinished structure. So a little bit weird design choice, but I guess for some die-hard MOC builders, it wouldn't be too difficult to create a functionality here. Also, just to take some really cool pictures, it's still nice to have the door come up and some pictures from the inside from the door perspective. So closing that up again. I'm not trying to compare too much with the Jedi Council chamber, but this console is so similar that it's almost hard not to. Let's have a closer look at the actual chamber or conference room. Now, like I said, the whole floor is tiled up. You can see that most of it is done by 4 sand blue tiles, and those tiles are part of the reason that this MOC is relatively expensive. The whole thing is 1,299 pieces, which is, I believe, more or less the same, maybe a little bit more than the Jedi Council chamber. But that's basically because of the brick-intensive techniques that are used, but it doesn't look that much more detailed because the details are very repetitive. and part of that price is in the tiled floor. Now, what I do like about the floor is that there's actually some reserved spaces for figures. So these were placed over here, and it's no accident because you can see that there are two modified tiles that are placed there, so you can actually post two guards next to the door. So I really like that idea that there is some fixed places, because the whole tiled look just give it that shiny imperial feel. But on tiles, it can be difficult to post figures and then move around. They'll just fall over and stuff like that. So it's really good that the designer, created some spaces to put figures. One extra space is next to the main chair. So there's one modified tile next to that, so you can post, I guess, Vader there and, have him look over the shoulder of Tarkin and stuff like that. The chairs itself are actually a pretty simple design. So they are just a round plate with a chair design that is very similar to the bench designs from many city sets. And they fixate on the same modified tiles, as you can see, but it has the added benefit that you can actually turn the chairs around without any extra pieces. So the chairs are not too high off the floor, creating a pretty realistic look. Now, the table itself is quite an exquisite design. As you can see, it's built up of, I'll just pick it up for a second. It's built up by the 2x1x3 black slopes, all sloping inward, creating the effect of a rounded table. And it has some really cool features. So there's actually a dashboard for every person on the table, which is nearly perfectly positioned by the chairs. Quite a design feat, because it's very hard to position those correctly, since there's no, this is quite an unconventional technique. So it's almost perfect luck that the chairs line up so well with all the computers over there. Now, the original design actually included a BB9E body part in the middle of the table, I guess symbolizing a computer or hologram of some sort. The minifigure only comes in a relatively expensive set and is around, I guess, $7 to $10 on its own. So I chose not to include that one. It's the only design change that I made. I just took a black, I guess, R2-D2 head instead without printing. And I personally think it looks better. I can't really figure how the BB9E body just, should be on the table. It looks kind of weird, and it's very expensive. So it's actually the only design change I made, and I'm very, very happy with how it turned out. So I'll just take out the chair that Tarkin is sitting in. You can actually see that it uses some, I think it's a car spoiler piece or something like that, to just give a little bit of extra height and extra width, but it works very, very nicely, and it really gives you the idea that this is the main person at the table for this conference room. Now, like I said, the whole thing is 1,299 pieces. The Jedi Council Chamber, that MOC that I talked about, you can check it out on my channel as well. You can see it's the same size, but it uses much less pieces, because there's just large window panes over here, and all of these pieces are brick built. So you can imagine there's I think 20 pieces maybe per section. So, and there's 17 sections, I believe, or something like that. So that's a lot of pieces just in the wall. And that also makes this build very quickly to put together. I think it took me just about 1 hour, maybe 1.5 hours. But it's extremely repetitive, because the bottom part is almost symmetrical and uses a lot of tiles. So you can imagine that, putting down all the bricks and the wedges and the plates, you're making a lot of progress really fast until you get to the tiling, which takes a lot of time. And when you get to the wall, you just have to, build this part as a whole, and then you put the whole wall in, fixate it on 3 points, and that's it. So it's not the most exciting build if you look at the building techniques, except for the table, which is just exquisite. I maybe could be able to give you a small look inside, just to show you how the table is built and put together. So it's really an exquisite design. It's almost hard to explain. The black pieces underneath the Technic pins that you can see are actually the pieces that are also used to hold up propeller blades for helicopters. So quite a genius design. So that's the most exciting build, but even that is quite repetitive because you have to build all those separate sections first, including the computers and, well, all the table pieces. The chairs are also the same, so extremely repetitive and a missed opportunity for the door that is not actually working. And if you look at the again, the Jedi Council Chamber MOC, I think it would not have been too hard to make something similar, but with an Imperial looking door. With its 20 or 1299 pieces, this is actually quite expensive to build. It will take you around 150 or 200 bucks. It was less for me because I could use quite a lot of pieces for my spare parts collection, but I think it's around 150 and 200, which is I think almost the same price as the Jedi Council Chamber, just because the colors are more generic, except for the sand blue tiles. So overall, this is a very good build. Would I recommend building this? Yes, absolutely. It's a perfect way to display minifigures. It's a unique piece in your collection. But if I would have to choose between this one and the Jedi Council Chamber, I would definitely go for the latter. Although, if you have a lot of Imperial minifigures, this is the perfect way to display them. So, I really hope you liked this review. I'll post a link to the instructions below this video if you want to go check it out. They are on Rubricable, so you can build this too. Thank you all for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all next time.